As leaders, it's so easy for us to get caught up in tasks, strategies, and our to-dos. But all of those things have no value if we don't know how to take care of the people we oversee. If strategies and tasks cause us to neglect our people, then no matter the results we're getting, they're worthless. So how do we lead at a high level, get incredible results, while still taking care of our people? Well, welcome to the Good Leader Podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Good Leader Podcast, Season 3. We're back. Guess who's back? Back again. All of the characters. My name is Jared Murray, your host. We've got Jess, Anj, Lemuel here today. All those incredible individuals on the other side of the plexiglass, because it's been a while, folks. This is like riding a bike. We're back,
We're
Jess.
here. We're back, and we're
back.
better.
How you feel?
I'm great. How are you?
Back. You know what? I'm doing really, really well. I've been on the road for about 3 months. That's why we haven't been podcasting. We've been on a hiatus. We've been on break. But it's because we're doing things like writing books, launching books, giving keynotes around the world, paradigm shifting like there's no tomorrow. Wow, come on. That beautiful addition you hear to the podcast is the one and only Lemuel. Don't call me Lemuel. Lemuel.
The soundbite.
Welcome to the show, Soundbite King.
It is good to be here.
Lemuel, tell the dozens of listeners out there, what's one thing we need to know about you?
Man, great question. I'm semi-decent at basketball, I guess. I'll just go with that.
That's the one thing. Of all the thousands of factoids about you, the one thing, I am semi-decent at basketball. That's the one.
At least own it. At least own it, Lem.
That's the first thing that pops in my head.
I'm really good at basketball. That's going to be here.
Well, I can't really say that because Jared kind of whooped us yesterday, so
I know,
I had to go with semi-decent.
He does that. He has a tendency to win.
He does do that.
Anytime anybody wants to know I'm sneaky good at basketball, I don't mind telling them. But Lemuel will get to share lots and lots of things about himself over the course of the next several weeks as we discuss the basics of leadership. That's right. We're going back to the basics over the next 12 episodes or so. We're going to talk about mission, vision, value, strategy, goals, all those things that are easy to say, more difficult to execute. What do they mean? Why are they important? And what should we do about it as good leaders? But before we get into all that today, we have to tell you, and it's with great humility, but definite pride that we are officially launching the From 8-Track to Emoji book. It's been a labor of love, and it's an organic process. This started as just observations that we made as paradigm shift facilitators working with individuals and groups across the country. We kept hearing things like millennials are entitled. We kept hearing people called Gen Z millennials. That's not even true. Anyone younger than them was a millennial. That's not true. We had to bust through these myths. We had to create keynotes, create workshops, and ultimately launch an entire book to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you are working today with boomers, Gen X, Gen Z, or millennials, or even the alphas, the kids these days coming up on the heels of Gen Z, you got to get this book. Jessica Treat, tell me, where can I get my own yellow copy of From 8-Track to Emoji? How do I own one of these beautiful little rectangles?
I'm so glad you asked. Anybody is able to purchase From 8-Track to Emoji starting on October 31st on www.jaredmurr.co. I think by the time you guys hear this episode, it'll already be out. So please feel free to check out Jared's website and get your copy. I will be shipping them myself. So I'm very excited.
Excellent. So you can find us just about everywhere you want to Google it up. But yes, my name is JERRODMURR.co. Don't mistake it for a com. All right, jaredmurr.co. Check it out. Anj, you know, it took her about 7 minutes to give a snarky remark there, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you counting at home, your bingo card, 7 minutes. That's when we got a little snark.
I just laughed at you.
For the people watching on YouTube, they saw the snarkiness in your eyes. Welcome back, Anj. Good to be back, right? It's like riding a bike.
Good to be back.
How has your break been? How's your break been? What have you been up to these days? Did you go on the trip? Did you actually go on your Mexicano honeymoon? I mean, the people are wanting to know. At the beginning of the year, for those of you who are new to the show, we challenged Anj to actually set a goal and do it. And that was to go on vacation with the love of her life. And now, did it happen?
That's
Give
my
us
goal.
the report.
That's hilarious. I can't believe it's been this long. Yeah, it happened at the end of July. We made it. We set the date. We got the childcare. We took the time. It was great. I got COVID the day we landed and had it the whole time. Jared's trying so hard.
Wait, I had no idea that you had COVID.
He laughs every time.
How did I not know
Yeah,
that?
I did.
It was a terrible trip. It was an awful vacation. It was an awful.
good.
We built her up all year. We pushed her toward it. We made it happen. And then she was sick the whole time.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
That's terrible.
And there were like, I can't even remember, but there were like 100 other things that happened too. And I was like, what is going on? Like, this is the resort. I'd go 10 times out of 10. I'd go again. And hopefully not with COVID. So, I mean, that would be great. But yeah, I had like 102-degree fever on the beach, like just trying to.
Bless your little
crazy.
heart.
So you still went
And
to
I was
the beach
convinced,
then, right?
I was convinced it wasn't COVID. I was actually convinced for a while I wasn't even sick, but I was talking like John, and he was like, you literally are disgusting. Like, this is so gross. And then I started losing my sense of taste, my sense of smell. Like towards the end, I was like, oh, all right, now.
Wow.
It just goes to show you sometimes we cannot control the results. We can only control our effort. So focus on that effort out there. Everyone, good leader nation, you've got to set goals and go for it. Anj did it. She had her accountability group in us. We pushed her toward it. It turned out to be such an amazing memory. You know, comedy equals time plus tragedy. Comedy equals time plus tragedy. And one of these days, as time passes, you'll look back with fondness and laugh about that wonderful trip that we took where you got COVID. But right now, maybe not so funny. You're actually starting to chuckle already. You know, you're already living it.
I'm laughing more than I did at staff retreat when I told you, like, yeah, I had COVID all week. You were like,
exactly. I felt awful for you. I did feel awful for about 5 seconds. I was like, oh, that is terrible.
And I was going to say, you got a huge kick out of it. He laughed like 6 times, like, Lindsay, can you believe on
It is pretty funny. I mean, I hate that for you, Queen, but man, you're just lucky.
Yeah, it's like the only vacation we took.
Well, now whenever someone complains, you can be like, well, at least you didn't go on vacation and get COVID, you know.
The one vacation you took in the year and got COVID. Yeah.
That is the
Can one
truth.
up.
But you got to take action, and that's exactly what Anj did. So to set the stage, if you want to achieve something worthwhile, you've got to have the vision, the mission, the goals, the strategy, the values, all those words. When we get back from the break, we are going to talk about all those things, and we're going to go rapid fire Q&A, me with the crew. They're going to ask questions top of mind. This is unrehearsed. This is unscripted. We're doing it live, and we're going to see what's the truth versus fiction, and does this stuff matter, and why is it relevant to being a good leader in any organization right after the break. Welcome back, everyone. And at the top of my show notes right here, it says values, comma, vision, comma, goals, comma, strategies, comma, etc. That's what we're talking about. That jumble, even in our description, shows what the heck is the difference between all these. Lim, what you got, brother?
Yeah, I will say, you know, all of these feel like hot words. I've worked at a few companies and they use them in different ways. You know, companies will say, hey, this is our vision, and they'll say, this is our mission. The next company will invert those. So I guess I'll ask right away, what's the difference in vision and mission?
Great question. A part of me says it doesn't really matter. Truthfully, in doing this, a part of me says it's more like if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it is a duck. Like no matter what you call it, a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. So a part of me is, I want to tell people sometimes don't get so caught up in semantics that you're not actually doing good work. If you're doing good work, I don't care what you call it. So there's a part of me that's like, even when we're facilitating, when I'm doing strategy sessions with groups, there's a part that I hold on loosely to this stuff, because if you're doing great in an area, don't let semantics confuse you. What's the difference in vision, mission? Do we need all three? What does it matter? Maybe not, you know? And, you know, Lemuel, you talked about being pretty sort of good at basketball earlier. If we go out and play a pickup game of basketball and we're clicking and we're gelling quickly and we all know the game and we're playing basketball, do we need to really pause and go, now, wait a minute, guys, what's our mission statement for the next 15 minutes? What's our mission here? Not necessarily. But for the long term, where it really matters, I believe, is in longevity. So for my example, when we're going out and playing pickup basketball for the next 15 minutes, because that's about all that our wind will allow, great. Mission, vision, values probably doesn't matter. If we want to have a productive day, probably doesn't matter. But if we want sustained success over the long haul, the relevance of these increases exponentially. So, for example, let's just start with vision, mission, values. That's what at Paradigm Shift we call the core three. Like that's kind of the core. If you want to think of this as concentric circles or like the nucleus of an organization, the nucleus would be that mission, vision, values. What are those things? And then the next level would be words like goals, strategies, things like that, projects, even like those are kind of the tiered systems. The best example that I can think of, well, first off, actually, before I go to the prime example, let me just read off. I actually researched a couple of these that I think illustrate it really well. And we're going to do a quick activity. I want you to pick out the ones that you like the best. You can have the same answer or you can have different answers. I'm going to give you a few vision and mission statements from some fairly well-known organizations. Amazon, for example, their vision statement is to be Earth's most customer-centric company, where customers can find and discover anything they might want to buy online. Their mission, we strive to offer our customers the lowest possible prices, the best available selection, and the utmost convenience. Okay, so think about those two. I know you're making some notes, but just there, you can see their vision is broader. So the vision statement almost answers why. Why are we doing this? Your vision should answer why. Like our vision statement at Paradigm Shift is really to create positive change. We want to create positive change in the long term. That is a little bit idyllic. The create positive change is actually kind of a more specific version of a more idyllic, like make the world a better place. It's almost like what we think we should do with our lives over the long haul, create positive change. It's also very broad. Your vision statement should be broad enough to change with the ebb and flow of what you're offering today. At Paradigm Shift, for example, we started out as offering only student events, educational leadership events. That was it. Well, now we offer student educational events, and we offer educator events, professional development, and we offer corporate development. And we now offer curriculum, and we now write books and offer books. Check out from A Track to Emoji, jaredmurr.co. We offer a lot of different things because it all falls under the vision of creating positive change. Our mission statement then, actually, we've ebbed and flowed. We've changed it a couple of times. At the moment, it's to help unlock every person's leadership potential. That's our mission. We are trying, in other words, to help unlock every person's leadership potential. I actually think there's a world in which you can have one vision statement and honestly, multiple mission statements for different departments. I'm actually leaning more and more toward that in leadership circles, where it's like, okay, well, our vision, we work together to create positive change. How do we do that? Well, our mission over here on the educator side is to help unlock every student's leadership potential. Over on the corporate side is to help unlock every person's. Now, that's slightly nuanced. It's basically the same thing, but just changing the verbiage a little bit. But you can have, in other words, I believe your mission is more specific. It is smaller in scope, but it answers almost the what to your vision statement's why. Why are we doing this? Because we want to create positive change. What are we doing? Helping unlock every person's leadership potential. How are we doing that? That's where you get into the values. Let's listen to one more. Patagonia. Patagonia's vision is a love of wild and beautiful places, demands participation in the fight to save them, and to help reverse the steep decline in the overall environmental health of our planet. Wow, it's pretty lofty, Patagonia, but kind of makes sense, right? Like that's the vision, environmentalists, save the planet. The mission is to build the best product. Remember, this is Patagonia. Cause no unnecessary harm, use business to inspire and implement solutions to environmental crisis. That's their mission. Now, if we want to be critical, I would say Patagonia's mission is a little lofty. Like that's kind of bleeds into vision. If I was just listening to those, you know what I'm saying? Like somewhere in there, I mean, do you make clothes? Is that part of your vision? Actually, though, I don't know the inner workings of Patagonia, and this is where I love this stuff. And remember, at the beginning of this, I said, if you're just talking about the next 15 minutes, your vision, your mission, your values, they probably are buzzwordy. But if we're talking about generational, like, well, how do we pass on from this working group to the next working group? Maybe the next iteration, 10 years from now, Patagonia, they're not even making clothes. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they're not even making clothing. They're not a clothing company. They're an environmental company who happens to make clothes. That's what their mission statement tells me. That's certainly what their vision tells me. In the same way with us. That's why when the COVID crisis happened in 2020, our mission really evolved, and it helped under our vision stayed the same. We want to create positive change, but now we cannot do leadership trainings. So our mission stayed the same, help unlock every person's leadership potential, but we had to do that through curriculum. So in other words, we're not actually a service company. We're a leadership development company. At this moment, we offer services and we offer products. Heck, tomorrow we might basically be a media company where we're doing online subscription services and television programming and all media. If it is indeed in helping us to accomplish our mission and our vision. So I'm going to read one more, and then we're going to move on. I'm going to read Ted's. TED is like TED Talks. The vision. We believe passionately in the power of ideas to change attitudes, lives, and ultimately the world. That's their vision statement. We believe passionately in the power of ideas to change attitudes, lives, and ultimately the world. Their mission, spread ideas. That's it. So those are some examples. You've heard my rhetoric about paradigm shift. Okay, Lemuel, I'm going to come to you first. Which one's sticking out, or where does that land? You asked the question, does it matter? Those all seem kind of buzzwordy. You've heard them interchangeably. What sticks out to you and all that?
I think just the difference in those three vision statements sticks out to me, especially seeing how Amazon, their vision statement, it's pretty descriptive. Patagonia seemed to be a little bit longer and have a little bit more breadth. It was at least more wordy, but then TED, that's just 2 words. That sticks out to me, and it makes me think, like, should vision statements be shorter, longer? It's a question I have.
Great question. I'm going to come back to that question. Anj, what's sticking out to you about mission versus vision, values, all those examples?
Specifically, so I'm a big fan when it comes to either mission or vision, whichever one you choose. Typically one is longer. But I'm a big fan, especially of the vision, that if somebody can't leave a room and remember what it was, it's not a good vision. It should be written, it should be said, it should be all of those things. But if I have to train and retrain, say and re-say, write and rewrite our statement because it's so hard for people to remember, it is not something that plants well and not a filter that they can make decisions off of. If I know our statement, like TED's, which I really like in their mission, spread ideas, like I know what we're doing day to day. We're doing different things each day, but I know ultimately the path we're going, what success looks like, and it looks like spreading ideas. We do that 1,000 different ways. So for me, and even when I've developed some sort of like mission or vision statements in even former jobs, that was what I always landed on. I was like, we have this long creed of who we are, but I want it simplified in 3 words for someone to remember and ingrain in and of their hearts. This is what we do, who we are.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I think you have to ask yourself, what's the purpose? Why are we using this? If we're just wanting it to sound good on a website, great. Maybe longer is better if that's your goal. If you really want to apply it, you have to make it memorable for people. You have to have a stickability. I can't remember the authors, but there was a book called Made to Stick several years ago. And this idea of like what sticks with people. And yes, brevity matters. So you have to create it. It doesn't necessarily have to be 3 words. It can be a statement. It can be a sentence. It can be several things. But do people remember it? Do we know it? Can they say it? That's why we've landed on create positive change. Because we want people to know it, to actually be able to say it. Jess, what's sticking out to you to all that stuff we've talked about so far?
I would say the number one that stuck out the most was Patagonia's, just because of a pro and a con, I suppose. So like the vision was very descriptive, and it was really long, and kind of piggybacking like off of what Anj said, like I don't remember what exactly you said because it was so long, but I do remember the way it made me feel. Like, it was very descriptive in a way that it painted a picture in my mind of like what that looks like. But then their mission, if I didn't know what Patagonia was, I would have no idea like what they do as a company. So their mission kind of didn't really describe to me like what they sell or like anything in that realm, but their vision like really painted a picture in my mind. So
yeah, and we've done this at Paradigm Shift. I'm a big fan of like short, catchy phrases and long descriptive paragraphs. I'm a big fan, like on Patagonia's, I would say, and they might already have this. I'm just looking at some honestly very fast research, but their vision might actually be something like, let's save the planet. That's actually the vision. Let's save the planet. And then they have this very beautiful, lofty, emotive paragraph to enlighten us, but it's really, let's save the planet. If they do consider themselves a clothing company, it might be, let's save the planet through clothing. That's a pretty catchy vision that sticks, and it really says the heart of what we want. Yes, we sell clothes, but that's not what we're about.
Yeah, I've heard someone describe it like the statement is the handle, but it's got to be, the suitcase has stuff in it. So without that long description, whether it be like a vision script, like Michael Hyatt talks about, you've got to have content behind a sticky statement. Because I've been in places where they have the sticky statement, but their company isn't really aligning with it. They're just using it as something catchy and something to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say the difference then is many people mistake a campaign for a vision. So those like one-liner sticky statements are probably great campaigns. They probably believe it. They mean it. It's not untrue, but it's not the core of who we are. It is a right now catchy campaign that we want to use. So I would say don't lose that kind of stuff, but make sure when you're creating a vision statement, is this something that is going to be generational? That's your key phrase. Your vision statement has to be generational. It doesn't mean that we're never, ever, ever, ever going to change the vision. The vision could change over time, but it probably won't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if this is the vision for our company, I would actually say that's what creates the longevity. That the vision, create positive change, goes beyond Jared Murr. Even though I'm our founder, you could take that vision and anyone on this call or anyone who works with Paradigm Shift can take that and do you believe in this? Great. That's why we do this. That's why we're working. Well, what do we do? Why do we do this? Because we want to create positive change. Great. Well, what do we do? Well, we unlock people's leadership potential. That's the mission. Well, how do we do that? How do we operate? That's our Shift 7. That's our list of core values. That's kind of an operating system. It's almost like a full value contract of the way in which we're going to operate to get the what because of the why. Values, mission, vision.
I think one way that I look at it too is can this phrase we use, can it be a verb? So I would almost say like any vision, mission, or core value that you've made overall for Paradigm Shift, they're verbs to us. Hey, Jess, I need you to pick up chairs. I know we're getting into values now, but hey, I need you to pick up chairs. Hey, Lemuel, I need you to create positive change here in this, for this team, in this atmosphere. Like I'm constantly kind of seeing and asking myself, like, can we make it a verb? Can we do it? I think by nature that is part of our culture and it's been done in that way. But I've also been in so many cultures, the vision, the mission is so far out there. It's said 2 times a year. It's not verbalized. It's not created and done and said. It's not celebrated. It's not used in performance reviews. I mean, it's not. So a lot of the litmus test for me is, can I make it a verb? And if we can, how often do we encourage the team to do so? How often do I do that myself? Because that puts something that was just in words into action that day.
Absolutely. That's really good. So if you've noticed, we've given 2 traits there. Can this be generational? In other words, is this dependent upon a specific time or a specific person? And if it is, then that is not generational. Your vision statement, your mission, your values, they should supersede you. They should go beyond you. And if they don't, it doesn't necessarily mean that's wrong, but I would call that a campaign. It's probably short term. Use it for this year's promotion. Use it for this year's marketing. Use it now. Use that catchy slogan. Great. And it might be true to who you are in the moment. It might be something you absolutely love and want to use, but it's probably not a vision statement. And the second thing, I love what Anja's saying there. Can it be a verb? Because we talk a lot about purpose is a verb. as humans. Like are we doing the mission? Are we doing this thing together? Yes, I believe that from who we are at our core, but we are agreeing to a verb. We are agreeing to a set of verbs as an organization that we are going to do this together. Well, what are we doing? We are creating positive change. We're unlocking leadership potential. Great. And then all of our values are based on verbs. Picking up chairs, expecting greatness, moving mountains. Lemuel.
I'm thinking from the perspective of a mid-level manager, someone who, doesn't have the opportunity, at least at this point, to create a vision, but are inhabiting an existing vision. How do we steward the existing vision well? How do we steward it well?
I think Anj is all over it. I think it is, what does this look like to me today? This is what when we talk about culture, we say culture like baking a cake. You have to have the right ingredients. That's what your core values, your mission statements, your vision, it does. Those are the ingredients. This is who we want to be. This is it, right? This is it. We want a culture of these things. The way that looks generationally will change. That's mixing it up. If you're going to create, you can't just say, oh yeah, we're respect. Well, guess what? Respect changes over the years. And not to get political, but the way we communicate with people changes. Like now, I'm old school. I say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. That used to be the respectful thing to do. Well, now that's not necessarily the respectful thing to do, to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. So I have to change with culture. Like, look at this and go, okay, so what does it look like to respect someone? What does pick up chairs, for example, in our verbiage? That's our core value, pick up chairs. I don't think that should ever change. Like, I would be hard pressed to say there's a world in which we should not believe in servant leadership, that we should not metaphorically and literally pick up chairs. But the way, Lemuel, that you pick up chairs as that mid-level manager, stewarding it well, that's where you've got to continually, like Anj said, talk about these things, celebrate these things. What does that look like? The greatest example that I can go to is the preamble of the Constitution of the United States of America. That's the mission and vision. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. That paragraph is the United States. That's who we are. Every state in the union is agreeing to that mission, vision, and values. That's what we do. Over the last 200 plus years, we've had to interpret that, reinterpret that, try to understand what that means, create new systems. Do we get it right all the time? Obviously not. Are we completely away from it? Maybe sometimes. But if we ask ourselves, and this is really, once again, I'm not trying to get political, but if we ask ourselves, who are we as a country? That's what we're supposed to be. That's what we've agreed to. That's the full value contract. That's the mission statement. The United States is not the 50 states. The United States is not just some symbolism. We as a people have come together. And we the people, it's beautiful. It's almost poetic if you get nerdy about it from a leadership perspective, because the founders said, we the people, me, I am here. I am a citizen here. We the people do ordain and establish these things, this Constitution, this agreement for this reason. That's exactly what you should be doing as an organization. That's a company. And that's where we say, what is paradigm shift? It's not a building. It's not a curriculum. It's not this. It is. Paradigm shift is an agreement among people to create positive change, to unlock people's leadership potential, and to do it following these core values. That's who we are as an organization. We may grow. We may shrink. We may change locations. We may add 100 people. We may go down to 2 people. No matter what happens, this is who you are as an organization. So for that reason, that's why your mission, your vision, and your values matter. It's because of longevity. Otherwise, your company is either based on a personality or a product. And when either one of those two things fizzle, your company will cease to exist.
That's great. I've heard it described that vision can be where you're going or the destination. Mission can be the vehicle you're in, and values can be the compass that you're using no matter where you are.
I love
I'm
it.
a visual learner.
I love the visual. I love the metaphor. And the fuel is the Good Leader podcast that's going to help fill your tank week after week, get you going, no matter where you're going, how far you're driving, or how many hours you got to be on the road. Jump on with us. We're back stronger, better than ever. Jess, tell us one more time. Give me those beautiful alphabetic digits of where people need to go to buy the 8-Track to Emoji book. Where am I going to go?
Visit www.jaredmurr.co.
That's right. Don't confuse me with com. I want to put Jess to work. Please, please, please. Everyone out there, let's make Jess go to the mailbox. She's going to be sitting around doing nothing if we don't. So check out jaredmurr.co from 8-Track to Emoji. Thanks for listening. You guys are beautiful people. And, until next time, go out there and be a good leader.